Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm, your weekly Final Fantasy XIV podcast that for some reason VLC player only decides to make the intro gray for half a second when we're actually going live. This week we have a PSA at the start of the show unrelated to Final Fantasy XIV, but something very important overall. But the main topic is going to be patch 4.15, the introduction of Perform, as well as the introduction of the new PvP mode, Rival Wings. To talk about that, I am one of your hosts, Michael Mr. Happy Poperomo. Of course, joining me is Sly, aka Slythefox, aka Sly, aka Greyfox, aka you, my boy Blue. One day, I won't say the whole thing, but it's been too long to not.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a pretty good day for me so far. I got to play some Rival Wings. I got to hit up some World of Final Fantasy, which came out on PC today.
PC,
well.
yeah.
Super. That game, you don't understand how meme heavy that game is, Sly.
I mean, you already knew that going in.
No, but like you kind of forget until you go back to it, and then Tama starts speaking, and then Lan starts speaking, and you realize that you had blocked a lot of that out of your memory.
Did you miss the dad jokes?
No, not one bit.
Okay.
I didn't miss them, but it's good to have them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured.
All right. So before we actually start the show, Sly, no, I'm not reading the sponsor list at the start of the show, by the way. That's not what this is. I just want to do a quick PSA for anybody watching the show. For those of you who may not know, there is an issue that is about to be very, very prevalent here in the United States about a topic known as net neutrality. I even punned the name of the show so it would make sense. I'm not looking at it. What did I do it, Sly? It's the chasing the oppression of justice.
Yeah.
I really wanted you to maybe say it out loud, but I knew that wasn't.
No, that's your pun. I'm not.
You're not chasing the oppression of justice.
No, you're alone on that one.
Wow, that's brutal, man. Okay, so net neutrality is basically making the internet free in terms of what you're allowed to search. ISPs aren't legally allowed to throttle you or charge you extra or charge companies money to create a fast lane or slow down their connection otherwise. Like, let's say if net neutrality didn't exist, you might need to pay your ISP an extra $5 a month to watch YouTube, or they'll make YouTube pay millions to keep their speeds the same, and thus YouTube will have to try to do something to make more money. So the FCC chairman is putting forth a plan that will not only abolish net neutrality, meaning companies can now do that, such as Verizon and Comcast, but he's also making it so states can't in any way set statewide legislation that differs from that, since the internet is an interstate functionality. So I would recommend highly you do a quick Google search, call your local representatives, let them know that you support net neutrality and that you want them to speak up against FCC chairman. What's the guy's name? I can't. It's a very short name. I have it like on a tab somewhere here. It looks like you're just looking for it as well. You're gonna say the FCC chairman, but let's see. FCC Ajit Pai. There you go. I thought that's what it was, but it didn't seem right to me. Ajit Pai, FCC chairman Ajit Pai. There you go. Or as chat is calling him, asshole. About the same letters. So I guess that works. Any of those work, just call your local representative and actually call them. Don't be like, yeah, I support this. Yeah, good job. You go call them. I called them earlier. Sly, have you called yet?
Not yet.
You should call.
I should call.
I called mine. You know what the secretary said? She said, if this is about net neutrality, he wants me to inform you that he is in support of net neutrality and to please provide your postal zip code so we have a reference point.
Good on them.
Do not call him during the show.
Let me get my phone and hold on 1 second.
Don't call him during the show, Sly. Do it after the show, before whatever you stream tonight. We wanted to do a PSA about that at the start of the show because that's a super important thing that's going on right now. Everyone in the chat can call him now. You guys do that. Just Sly. Wait till after the show. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so with that out of the way, though, I'm going to put my headphones on correctly, and we are going to talk about patch 4.15 today.
Yeah. So, Rival Wings.
Rival Wings is out today. The new PvP mode. Our first, our first large-scale 2-team PvP mode. That's not like Grand Company based.
We can kind of call it MOBA-like.
Oh,
in a sense.
It's dude. Honestly, if MOBAs played like this, nobody would play them. I'm just saying. Listen, I've got a lot of positive things to say about it. I've also got my fair share of criticisms regarding what they attempted to do. So we're gonna start with that. There are other things. There's the perform feature. We do have to hold a vigil to squadrons a little bit later, but we'll get to that when the appropriate time is here. So that's the first thing, Rival Wing. So we're probably gonna have to go down and break this down how it actually works, Sly.
Yes.
But first, what was your initial experience with it? Because it sounds like you were about to say what I think you were about to say.
Yeah, because getting into Rival Wings and people on your team asking you what team they're on in the middle of the match. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I thought it would be pretty evident, with everything and all the information, what team you're on, but yeah. That use of the mechs, like a lot of this stuff is going to get sorted out first week. People will get used to the mode, but first day jitters. Understand, like people don't understand, and the more games you play, the more it'll click. But today is a lot of first day jitters, a lot of new mode. Who dis? What team am I on?
New mode.
Which
makes me smile.
What mech should I get?
All that information is in the patch notes, though, Sly.
It's in the patch notes.
Did you read it, Sly?
We read the patch notes. Me and you read the patch notes. There are a lot of people who don't read the patch notes. So they go in, fresh face and everything, and you're losing, and you're trying to protect your tower, your core, and everybody's got a oppressor for some reason.
So Sly is he's not telling you how to play, he's really sharing with you his experiences. And
I'm telling you how to not play. That's what I'm doing. Like, we'll go into the details about the mechs and everything, and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Like, for example, don't do that. Please.
That is
God.
So don't do that. You named like 6 things. You know that, right, Sly?
Yeah.
Don't do that thing. Sly, you named everything. Exactly.
Exactly.
Don't do any
Don't do all those things. No.
All right. I'm getting the actual patch notes set up so we can kind of scroll through it and talk about it as we go, because there's a lot to talk about here, and it'd probably be easier if we had some visuals and some official patch note language to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do that. Let's get the patch notes on the screen right here. Let's center them a little bit more. No, it will not let me do that anymore. No, that's the wrong thing to center. Hashtag professionalism. So the new mode, Rival Wings. We mentioned earlier, it's 2 teams. It's 24 people on each team. Sly, I want to hit that before we even talk about like the specifics of it. I want to ask you, Sly, could we just get like a normal amount of people in a PvP match and not have like 20 to 40 people like in the same team? Like, I don't know, I'm tired of only having PvP modes that support like anywhere from 48 to 72 people other than Feast, which is just
so you don't like large scale PvP.
I like it, but I don't need every single PvP mode to be large scale. Like, there's a reason why MOBAs are 5 versus 5 most of the time, and that's...
you have options. You
what do you mean options? Feast is one option. It's one mode. Kill the enemy team, pretty much. Pick up medals, kill enemy team. I want, like, capture the flag. I want hold the point and not, like, secure hold the point. Like, just hold the point on a normal-sized map. I just want the classics for PvP modes.
But do you think... Okay, when...
8v8, 12v12, like...
8v8, capture the flag.
Yeah, I'm down with that, man. This map is actually a pretty good size for 8v8. It's maybe a little too big, but it's like mostly a good size for like an 8v8.
Yeah, I don't think it'll work with 8v8. It speaks to a much more larger scale than 8v8. What would I say? mid, top, bottom. 9 seems like an off number, but seems like it'll work.
It's too many teams, Sly. This PvP mode is fine with this many people. I'm just saying, can I get a PvP mode that's not this many people? That's all I want.
It's definitely doable.
Oh, it's 100% doable. Only every other game does it. Only every other MMO does it.
I'm more of a fan of the large scale. I mean, yes, I do like Feast, but yeah, I like the large scale. I like this. There are issues. I like it.
It's better than Shatter. I'll tell you that much. It's 1,000,000 times better than Shatter. All right. So here we have basically it's 2 teams, and you have to destroy the enemy core in order to win. So you can see the map right here. You have the enemy core for one team on the left, the enemy core on the far right, and then you have 2 towers for each team. The enemy core can only be attacked after destroying both of the enemy towers. On top of that, there's cerulean tanks around the map, which you'll need in order to power the mechs, which we'll get into in a second. There's 2 cannons that can be manually operated, defending the core directly, and those things are stupid OP. There's also a power generator in the structure in the middle, which generates 1 CP every 3 seconds, as well as extra cerulean tanks under there, as well as being scattered around the map. So that's the general gist of the mode right there. Sly, I want to ask you, are you for or against the way they handled tower to core? You have to destroy both towers. You can't just destroy one tower and then go for the core, which for me is really weird.
It's weird. As someone who's played stuff like, Smite and everything, and going from that to this, yeah, I'm like, okay, we took out a tower in one lane. We took out a tower. We should be able to push core, right? Wrong. You have to take out the other tower. Wait,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird to me. I think they'll take a look at it. I don't think this will be a permanent rule set where you have to destroy both towers. But
I think I think it's going to stay that way forever. I don't see them ever changing away.
But it goes against the norm, and that's the thing. When like a lot of people like you and I, or people who've just played MOBAs in general, kind of play this, it's going to confuse the hell out of them because they feel they destroy a tower and then get the core, and they're like, why can't we touch this? Why can't we? No? Okay. Yeah, it's going to confuse the shit out of them. And
I've had a lot of games where people go right from the tower, try to go to the core because they push through a lane. I've had that happen a lot. I feel like the 2 tower to core thing works fine.
In terms of pacing.
But there's other issues with the way the towers function versus the grand scheme of the map, which we'll hit in a second here. So
now, well, before you go on, like to piggyback off that, do you think the amount of towers is right? Do you think there should have added an extra tower?
I think the towers are fucking pointless. They did a terrible job with implementing towers in this. So all the towers do is heal players standing near them. And other than that, they're basically big fucking punching bags. And it's entirely on the players to do any sort of self-defense when it comes to those things.
Because the towers don't do any damage to anybody, right?
The towers don't do any damage, and your only means of defending them is to physically be there. But honestly, taking both towers is inconsequential to the state of the game. And that comes down to what happens after you get both towers actually getting to the core. For a lot of teams that don't have proper coordination, it's literally a 20-minute stalemate. And those you gotta both teams take both towers in the first 4 minutes of the game, and trust me, I've had it, and then not like maybe land 1 or 2 hits on the core throughout the rest of it. So I think that the towers are horribly implemented. They shouldn't just be, and the heal is also barely matters. You can easily kill defenders through the heal that the tower is providing, assuming that you actually like focus on a target.
So do you think they should have added damage to it to actually make it like a tower?
I don't know if they should. So when you stand near the tower, you get the tower defense buff. I don't know if because it gives you healing and reduces damage taken, I think are the 2 things that it does. So you're supposed to be really strong by it. But the problem is that the most effective ways to destroy towers, you don't get in range of the tower defense people. The oppressor is the main way you're supposed to attack the towers, and the oppressor can stand like a full radius of the circle out of it and attack from there. So that tower defense buff is only good if you're going up against cruise chasers, brute justices, or other players. So the fact that the Oppressor is the main way to take out a tower, and that tower defense buff is absolutely worthless against the Oppressor itself, is one of my first concerns with the mode. Hello, motorcycle.
And then you bring up the point of the Oppressor. Do you think they should nerf the distance on Oppressor? Because
that's tough.
It makes sense. It makes sense, like in a MOBA setting, for you to actually get in distance of a tower to do damage to it by having the Oppressor able to be out of distance of like harm's way. Like they can chill back a little bit and still do damage. I think that's a little bit OP in terms of what Oppressor can do, and I think in this kind of setting, Oppressor should, or any mech should have to be not necessarily in direct melee distance.
No, I don't know. I think in the range of the actual tower defense buff. I think you should only be able to hurt the towers within that range. Or they can... I mean, listen, if you want to keep that Oppressor range, then you need to extend the range of the defense buff. But even then, I think that protecting the Oppressor is barely an objective. It's mostly about Oppressors sneaking off to the side, and then from max distance, raining down as many missiles as they can before people notice. Which I did today, and it was hilarious, but it's not great for the state of the actual game mode. Yeah. So we'll get into the different mechs, but that's the general gist of it. Let's go through the actual sections of the map right here. So we have the cores, and these are, you have to destroy these to win the game. Sly, did any of your games today, did you actually destroy a core?
The one before we got on the call.
And how long did that game take?
Roughly about 10 minutes.
Okay, so that was my experience. In games where we actually took the core, it was usually in the first 10 minutes. In games where we didn't take it in the first 10 minutes, the core usually was a full 20-minute game. Now,
we were coordinated. We did have the strat where you have like a cruise chaser and an oppressor, and a cruise chaser and an oppressor, and we really like pushed top lane and then went for the other tower, and then did our thing at the core. Other games didn't go like that.
No,
not every game is coordinated.
No, they really, really, really don't. So most of my experience is that the core survives to the end, and that's gonna be as we go through the different parts. I'll talk about one of the other biggest problems that I actually have with this PvP mode. So you have the core, destroy both towers, you can attack the core. Whatever. Things got a metric fuck ton of health. Like, individual players are tickle it. You need the mechs on these things. You need Oppressor, you need Brute Justice right there. Then we have the towers themselves. I already mentioned how I think they're not well done at all, and we've listed a ton of reasons why. They display them at the top of the screen so you keep track of which team you're on, who's winning, time remaining, and then if you destroy both of them, the core's HP is revealed. Now, the big thing that is under discussion right now is the optimal use of Cerulean. Cerulean is basically something you get when you either find a Cerulean tank, which then rewards 10 Cerulean to just the party who collected it, not all 6 parties. Defeating enemy mammoths, which is up to 10 units based on the amount of damage your party did through its total health. So if you did like 40% of the damage to the mammoth and it died in other ways, you'll get 4 units of Cerulean. And the power generator in the middle, I don't know why it says power generators when I've only seen one, generates 1 unit for each party per 3 seconds. And Cerulean is needed to power the mechs. So I found that Cerulean is not a valuable enough resource outside of the initial 50 to get a mech, in my own personal experience.
I feel that way because of the ways that you get Cerulean. Depending on how you get Cerulean, well, it's not tiered properly, so to speak. Like finding it on the field and defeating a mammoth, I think should have different values.
Well, they do in a sense. You're guaranteed the 10 from picking up a Cerulean. The mammoth, you get a portion of the damage. Well, you get the odds of you ever getting a full 10 units off a mammoth are really low because it would have to mean you were the sole damage source on that unit and nothing else touched it.
But there are times when like you somehow, some way mammoths get back to your tower. I don't know how, and you're the only one defending, and you are taking a Mamet by yourself. So there have been times that I've taken a Mamet completely alone, like solo, and gotten 10. But I feel like while it is different in a way, I forget how much cerulean do you get for a player?
You don't get any for a player kill.
That's weird.
That is kind of weird. I will admit that is kind of strange that there's the only benefit to a player kill. So actually, there is another player kill benefit. We'll get to that as we scroll down.
Soaring. We'll get to that. Yeah.
We'll get to the soaring. But honestly, I have other words for the soaring buff. Let's just say there's a reason I almost forgot about it when I was about to list advantages to actually killing enemy players.
Yeah.
So once you have this cerulean, you can go back to your hangar terminals, which are right outside where you spawn, and you can pick one of the 3 mechs. There's a little bit of limitations. Each party can only have 1 out at a given time, and so you have cruise chasers, oppressors, and brute justice. And keeping and getting cerulean to make sure you constantly have as many mechs on the field as possible is the key to success in this. If you are just fighting and no one in your party is getting in a mech, go get in a mech. Look at what other mechs you have on your team. If you have 3 oppressors and no cruise chasers, probably need a cruise chaser to protect the oppressors. If you've got 4 cruise chasers and no oppressors, get in an oppressor and get to a tower or work your way towards the core.
Right.
So we have cruise chaser first. He's got 30,000 HP, so he's a little wimp. Takes 50 units and up to 6 can be deployed at a time. His attacks are Spin Crusher, which deals 6,000 damage specifically to War Machina, meaning other cruise chasers, oppressors, or brute justice, and only does 600 when a player, mammoth, or object. That's like... It's really good for like just walking up to an oppressor and just murdering him, and it's like worthless for anything else. And it costs 25 energy points. You should know energy points. You loved energy points. You remember the last time you used energy points, Sly? When was the last time? Sly, do you remember the last time you used energy points?
Can't say
it's one of your favorite moments in the game's history.
When?
A2 Savage. You had energy points for the guy controlling...
Oh, God, no.
The Goblin.
No.
It was your favorite.
Well,
You have energy points here, too, and all your abilities cost energy points.
I had to keep track of it. Because if you did anything too much, you basically had to self-destruct it anyway, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not going to lie, and you brought it up as someone in the chat was about to bring it up. I really wish that we could blow these mechs up. And that's a strategic reason why I wish you could do that.
What, to self-destruct the mechs?
To self-destruct, yeah. There's a very important reason for wanting to self-destruct the mechs. And that goes into, we'll talk about that again a little bit more. So you have Spin Crusher, which is specifically for killing the other Machina. Anytime you're trying to kill an Oppressor or Brute Justice or another Cruise Chaser, this should be your go-to ability. For players, though, you have 2 other abilities. Laser X Sword, which is a conal attack that costs 100 EP, deals 8,000 damage to players in War Machina, and then does shit damage, does 10% of that damage to mammoths or objects like towers. And then you finally have Optical Sight, which is your ranged option, does 4,000 damage to players in War Machina in the point of impact, and 10% of that to a mammoth or an object. In my opinion, Cruise Chaser is the most fun to play. I don't know how much time you get to spend in a Cruise Chaser.
I usually spend a lot of time in Cruise Chaser because I'm primarily the only ones getting Machina.
It's I would like to say I haven't controlled the Brute Justice. I always leave that to my team. So actually, Brute Justice is probably the most fun. Next, we have the Oppressor, who has 75,000 HP and moves at the speed of smell. Requires 50 units, and you can only have 2 deployed at a time. And at any point, you should absolutely have 2 deployed. Like, if you have none deployed, you absolutely want 2 oppressors just barreling down a lane. And by barreling, I mean waddling, I suppose. Their first attack is an anti-personnel weapon. It basically just does a minor amount of damage, but knocks people back if they're in melee range of you. So, like, if a melee or tanks on your face, you use this to knock them back, buy yourself a couple extra seconds.
Pretty good, pretty useful in terms of like bridge positioning. That was always fun for oppressors to do the knockback and then knock people down to the pretty much the bottom of the map. I thought it was.
Yeah, I did that a few times. If you actually are an oppressor and you see people and people are willing to fight you close to a cliff, you can absolutely make them forget that they're standing next to a cliff. Good players, that won't happen, but it definitely happens to some people. I still think it could be better, personally. Almost nobody really cares. You lose a GCD at most, which is all the time it's trying to buy you. The oppressor is supposed to be super vulnerable. It's 50-50. I just don't know how I feel about actually buffing it, but at the same time, I kind of wish it was at least a little bigger in terms of in terms of how far it knocks you back, at the very least. They have 3,000 tons missile, which just drops a missile on towers and cores. It does 200,000 damage to towers and cores. It does 1% of that to players Machina and Mammoths. And the potency actually decreases the farther you are away from the target.
Now, going back to Cruise Chaser and looking at the EP cost for Oppressor. Oppressor didn't have a EP regeneration, did it?
They all have EP regeneration. They all do. All of them. I was gonna get to that after Brute Justice was done. You can actually choose to spend your Cerulean to restore your energy points. Should you actually decide?
Do you feel like that was implemented correctly? Do you feel like they the weight of the Cerulean and the amount of EP restored is sufficient?
Yeah. It's, how do I describe this? It's acceptable, but the odds of you keeping a mech long enough to use it are not super high. The Cruise Chaser you might be able to keep, but most of the time people kill a Cruise Chaser well before. So for me, I don't know if I would want the CP to EP as much as maybe CP to health. But you also have to consider that if you literally run out of EP, you're dead weight. If your team can't generate CP, then you might as well just get out or try to hide.
You might as well just yeah. This is why self should be a thing. And
the chat brings up a good point. It gives you half of your EP back at the cost of what is essentially half of a mech. It's 25 for 500, whereas it's 50 for the full 1,000 for a brand new mech. So you have to weigh the option. Like, if I'm at 20% HP, do I really want to spend the CP to get my EP back when I could just go get 50 CP and then get a whole new mech that's at full HP? So there are options. Obviously, there's cases where the answer is yes, I'm willing to do that. And then there's cases where, that's not the point. But one of the big things here is we talked about the oppressor needing a reason to get closer. We mentioned that it does less damage from a distance in this list. That point is almost completely irrelevant. Now, once you get within 30 yalms, the damage starts to go up, but the damage is so high from a distance, nobody even fucking bothers. They just go max range and do sneaky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think that it should not have a range of 75 yalms. I think its range should need to be within tower range. And then it's a matter of, can it actually walk up close and actually get the missile off? Now, keep in mind, if you can walk an oppressor all the way into melee range, those towers are not long for this world.
No.
And that's actually what I recommend doing, is you pair, every oppressor should have a Cruise Chaser. If you have 2 Cruise Chasers per oppressor, great. That's even better. But that should be what you aim to do. Get an oppressor, get 2 Cruise Chasers, pick a lane, go ham. That's that. Oh, by the way, I'm an idiot. I read this wrong. The missile's from the point of impact, not from the point that you fire it. I had misread that.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's from the point of impact. Damage doesn't change based on how far away you are, which is the problem that I had earlier. What were you going to say? You were going to say something?
I was going to say something, but you said that. And looking back on this, everybody just usually runs away from...
There's no reason. Dude, honestly, if you're a player, it doesn't fucking matter. It does 2,000 damage. My number one piece of advice, don't waste 1/5 of your EP just to use this missile on players. It is a waste of EP to even remotely consider using this missile on players.
Honestly, the attacks feel like a waste on players to begin with.
Well, Cruise Chasers are fantastic, but the oppressor is literally destroy towers. You don't do anything else. You either get to the tower and destroy it, or you stand back and wait before you can get to a tower. It's worthless otherwise. So please stop. So many people use their missiles. They're like, okay, let's push the lane with my 2,000 damage. Please. Please. I beg you. Then we have our boy Brute Justice. Now, Sly, I'm going to present... Weren't we supposed to get Winged Justice also?
I thought we were supposed to get Winged Justice in Desperation.
Yeah, like if you've got both towers down and your core is exposed, I thought Brute Justice was supposed to become Winged Justice. That was the original thing we were told. It looks like they scrapped that idea.
Yep.
Because it's not there. If he could turn into Winged Justice, somebody fucking show me, because...
Didn't we actually get a picture of it, too?
I'm pretty sure we did. I'm 99% sure we got a picture of Winged Justice on the fields of Astrologos. And I saw none of that. There's no option. It's literally not listed anywhere on the patch notes either. So I'm going to assume they got rid of the idea of Winged Justice being the ultimate comeback mechanic. However, Brute Justice has the unique property of you can only deploy one after losing a tower. And you can only have 2 up maximum at a time. But they have 150,000 health, twice the amount of the Oppressor. And they are monstrously powerful against both players and structures. They have a Flamethrower, which basically acts like the Cruise Chaser's Laser X Blade. They have the Double Rocket Punch, which is 40,000 damage to objects and then 4,000 to players, but also stuns players. So it's CC for players and also super damage against actual towers and cores. And then they have Mega Beam, which is 12,000 to players in War Machina, but doesn't really do much to the towers themselves. And also has a 30 Yalm knockback. So they've got everything. But if you lose this Brute Justice, it's gone. You're not going to get another one. You get one for each tower destroyed, and then that's it. So using them intelligently is the smartest thing. So how do we feel about the way these Machina were introduced, Sly? How did you feel like as a normal player having the Machina in the game and actually playing against them?
Having them didn't quite feel as weighty as it should. Like I didn't when we lost towers, I didn't feel like, Brute Justice kind of gave us, well, again, we were probably a bad team anyway. I kind of
that plays into it a lot, Sly.
Yeah. I kind of feel like Brute Justice didn't give us the comeback that we needed. Again, we went through individually how we felt about each individual Machina and what we think should be changed. I just wish they carried a little bit more weight than they actually do. And we'll get to this in a minute. I feel like the mounted cannons actually make more of a distance.
Oh my god, I was gonna get to that next. Those fucking cannons, bro.
Yeah. When mounted, stationary cannons make more of a difference than the mechs. That's kind of a problem, in my opinion.
Oh, dude, I've got entire highlights of 10-minute stall outs where I just sit on a tower or sit on a cannon
and just go ham. Yeah.
I'd say the one thing is that my bigger problem is that I think the mechs make the only impact, and that the players have such a limit. The players can only make an impact without any mechs in the middle of the map. You actually cannot enter the middle structure as a mech, whether that be the cerulean tank part at the bottom or the actual power generator on the top. And
I feel like that's good.
I think that's good. I was very happy that they made it so that as a mech, you can't squeeze through that tiny space or even fire inside from the outside. That being said, as an individual player, I don't feel very accomplished whenever I do anything in this mode, whether it's as a player. The only time I feel great is if I murder everyone as a mech, or I solo a tower as an oppressor, or, things like that make me feel good. But I never feel good as a player standing next to a mech. I just feel like a minion, pretty much, like one of the mammoths, which is the last thing. And for me, that's a problem, because this is a player versus player mode where, as a player, nothing feels good for me, at the very least.
Do you think Rival Wings could have been implemented without the mechs.
So that's you'd need a lot more minions, and you'd need the structures that have to be focused on buffing the minions versus that. I think it's totally possible, and I think that the mechs are there in an attempt to make the game mode go faster, but a lot of the times it just feels like they don't. Players who take them either don't know what they're doing, or there's so many mechs on the field, they couldn't make them as impactful individually, so it's all about working together with the mechs, as opposed to being one mech and feeling like you landed a huge advantage. If I were to look at, I guess you could look at like Heroes of the Storm, you could look at MXM. Those are Dota style, those are MOBAs. Those are massively online battle arenas where you summon huge minions to barrel down a lane. When you get that, Titan, or you get that special unit that's supposed to give you an advantage, it very much feels like you've earned an advantage. In this, when you've earned a mech, it's like, all right, well, I know what I'm supposed to do as this mech, but I don't, unless I get really, really lucky, or like my team is super coordinated, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel as good to pull these things off, if that makes sense.
I would have been okay with them making the mechs autonomous. Like, nobody controls them. You just summon them, they go to a lane, that's it.
See, I'd be cool with that. I'd be cool with just summoning a mech, and then that mech, my goal now is to protect the mech down that lane. Like, that would make me feel better as a player. Like, I did my job, and that was the only thing. Don't get me wrong, it's still not the greatest feeling thing in the world, but it's better than feeling as a player that I'm completely worthless unless I'm literally getting Cerulean to get a mech. That's the only thing that feels good. Yeah. And it's like, Cerulean's not even that hard to get. It's all over the place.
It's all over the place. Down at the bottom, it has a really quick respawn rate, so you can just consistently get Cerulean down at the bottom, like below mid. And I think there are other places I just didn't check, but yeah, if you just wait a few seconds, Cerulean will be there all the time, so it's not hard to come by.
Yeah, it's like a 15-second respawn, and if you actually check all around the outer edges of the map, there's also Cerulean there that, like, most of the time goes completely untouched unless people are escorting like a mech like through a backdoor type area where you sneak around to try and get to their base. I'm just not a fan with how useless I feel as the player without the mech. And then the mechs, I feel, individually are just throwaways. Like, you'll get another one, don't worry. So it's just nothing feels quite satisfying enough, in my opinion. The other thing with mechs is they can't heal in any way. Players can't heal them, they can't regenerate HP. So once you've lost HP, that's it. Maybe make it so that the tower defense thing that gives you the healing, maybe make it work on the mechs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's risky business, but think about how long it would take you as an oppressor to walk up to their tower, start getting hit, somehow escape, make it back to your tower, heal, and then get back. It's like, I don't know, man. Does that even really do anything? At this point, can we just have 48 mechs? Fuck it. Can we have 48 mechs?
No.
Why even play as the players anymore? No, why not?
No. God, no.
Why not? Sly, listen.
Here's
how it's going to work.
48 oppressors?
No, I want 40. I want 48 Gobwalkers, and then when you do enough, then the Gobwalker can become one of the real mechs.
Smaller scale mechs would be a good thing. I'm kind of disappointed.
I don't think it would be. I think smaller scale mechs. I think it just exacerbates the problem of the player being meaningless. Because if you have smaller scale mechs, then it's everyone's, like, as many people as possible need to be in mechs, and the amount of impact that the actual player has diminishes even more. So, at least that's how I feel. All right, that's how I feel. And then we get to these bastards, the steam cannons. These are part of the reason my games don't end before 20 minutes.
Because you have somebody sitting in a steam cannon and just laying waste to anybody who gets close. Because they're ridiculously overpowered.
They have... Look at this. The cannon takes 1.5 seconds to fire. It only takes a second to recharge. It has a 75 yalm range, and it does 6,000 damage to players and Machina. What? It's a machine gun that deals more damage than any of the mechs combined, and can hit more than one if they're grouped up.
Yeah. So in a last-ditch effort to defend your core, and everybody's at your core just trying to go ham, just getting a cannon, pop shots.
That's it. Dead. That's it. You literally don't have to think about it. Like the fact that it's on such a short, like I get it. It's stationary. It can't be used for offense, but it kills a cruise chaser in 5 shots. It kills most players in 2, sometimes 3
shots.
Yeah, if they're a healer, maybe they heal themselves up and they survive extra shots. But good luck. That's all I have to say. You better have on your fancy feet because the odds of you getting away from one of these suckers is not very high. I think this is one of the biggest problems outside of the tower thing earlier. You are a god on this game. Brute Justice with 150,000 health is the only thing that feasibly gets past these things in one piece. Oppressor's too slow to make it past, and Cruise Chaser's too fragile to make it past.
Right.
The good news is that if you're a ranged DPS and you're ballsy enough to stand in front of the steam cannon, you can actually kill the person manning it, which is the only way to stop them from demolishing.
I thought that was
team.
good. I thought that was a good thing. Being able to kill the person in the cannon.
I mean, you can't kill the cannon and stop it permanently, which maybe would be a solution and maybe create an additional objective before going for the core. But you can kill the player manning it, and as soon as that thing's offline, then it's a one-way trip to a victory.
Yep. So, destructible cannons in another patch.
I think that the cannons, you can't just give them this much power. They either need to fire slower, have a slower reload speed. They either need to deal less damage. They need to maybe drain Ceruleum, like any one of these, or they need to be destroyable.
I don't think they should drain Ceruleum. No.
Wait, dude, are you kidding me? Like, or at least make it so if you man one, it uses Ceruleum and then gives you EP. Because this is insane. 6,000, it does more damage than any of the mechs, period. The only attack that even remotely comes close is the Laser X-Blade and the Flamethrower. And those are channel times, they're cones, you have to remain stationary, they can get DPS during it, enemies behind you can't do anything. It's insane.
But if you really look at that, like, well, one, making them destructible, adding a
just I don't say they should do all these things, just something.
No, like all these like separately. Making them destructible, adding Ceruleum costs, adding EP costs. The matches would go a whole lot faster.
That's the thing.
If you lose that line of defense, and this is a mode where I feel like they wanted the pacing to be as slow as possible. Like when I go back to matches in Smite, there have been matches that went on, like on the larger scale map, that went on for a good 30 minutes. I like those matches. I like it when most people don't, but I like it when shit drags on, when shit drags out, because like you're playing to the best of your abilities and you're playing at a stalemate. The time limit could be extended, because
no, dude, don't extend the time limit. Dude, the matches are boring for the last 10 minutes as it is. Don't make them any longer.
Most of the matches end up letting time run out, and you basically rely on, well, who killed the most towers, whose core is down the most. And you rarely get the matches ending with somebody actually destroying the core. And I think that's an issue when that's your main objective, and that rarely happens, not just due to, stalemated skill, but just shit dragging on because people don't know what they're doing. It's kind of a bad thing. So,
I mean, the thing is, as you said, it's them not knowing what they're doing. I think that even when people know what they're doing, this is still not well incorporated.
True.
There's also the idea of making so you need to own the power generator in order to use the cannons. The only reason I'm 50-50 on that is if you're stuck at your cannons, the odds of you being able to control the power generator are at an all-time low. Like, I can understand needing the power. Like, the power generator for me is an offense tool. It's what gives you the Ceruleum in order to have energy, in order to, keep going throughout the longer fights. The fact that when you lose both towers, you basically have lost the entire middle of the map in terms of your team's pressure, makes it so that... You have to
Go ahead.
defend it. Yeah, you're pretty much in enemy territory. Like, they can literally come at you from any side, and you're at the biggest disadvantage possible. Like, you'd argue that it would snowball the matches, make them faster, but I don't think that the power generator for defense... I think that it's a big enough advantage that they have it for the offense. But I do think that taking the generators offline by maybe putting a generator... Because there's actually, like, a little gap between the two of them, and maybe putting a generator that's specifically for the cannons there might be a better idea, because then it's like you have to go through the cannons to get to the generator. And therefore, if you take them offline, you've already fought on their advantageous territory and overcome them. And at this point, you deserve to go to the victory. I just think that there's too much power in defending the core, and that the towers are just, as my chat put it, paper. And that's a huge imbalance of the way the matches go. First 5 minutes, all towers gone. Next 15 minutes, nobody can do shit because the cannons are just there and too strong. I like this comment in the chat. I don't want to be in a machine. I just want a PvP. just want to play the game. And then we come to the final unit, Mammoths. These guys automatically run up a lane. There's one melee, one ranged Mammoth that just run down each of the two lanes towards enemy Mammoths and towards the enemy towers. I don't know about you, Sly, but I've come to realize that these Mammoths are pretty fucking strong. They die super easy, but I once got like 4 of them to a tower, and the range
Tower's gone.
And the tower, it wasn't gone, but I was only at the tower for like 15 seconds, and it lost like 30% of its health. It's the ranged ones, when they get in range of the tower, they actually do the caster LB to it. I think the Viking ones do the same thing. I think they do, because they do what's called a powerful self-sacrificing attack if they reach a tower. Mm-hmm. And it's, like, good.
It's good. But, again, it goes against the grain of general MOBA play. Like, usually... The
minions don't suicide. Well, the minions kind of do suicide in normal MOBAs because they're just running to their death.
Yeah, there's like the tower's actually doing something to them. This tower's not doing shit.
That's true. Yeah, the tower usually defends itself against minions in a normal MOBA,
right.
And in this mode, the tower's like, well, they're here. I guess the players fucked up, which you'd argue would be good because it's putting the onus on the players to actually be the ones responsible for protecting the tower. But no one gives a fuck about the tower because the cannons are so much better anyway. So,
right.
It's like, what does it even really mean? They are strong, but they also have like no health. So healers can heal them. Something worth remembering is that a healer can heal them. I don't know how worth it is, but if you can get them to the enemy tower, it's effective. It is something that's good.
And when I first saw the mammoths go down in lanes, like the number of mammoths per deploy kind of threw me off. Just seeing like 2 mammoths in a lane,
just 2.
Like where I'm just used to seeing like, wait, aren't there usually more minions in a like row just going for a tower? And you just see 2 mammoths.
Did you just call a rogue a roge?
I said a row.
Okay, in a row. Okay, because it sounded like you said okay. In a row, just going for the tower. Okay, there you go. In a row, just the row and just combined, and my brain turned off. I think the reason they operate that way is because they self-destruct for a bunch of damage, as opposed to like chipping away at the tower. Mm-hmm. I think we're ultimately, and you want to know the funny thing? And you might as well just lose the tower anyway and just get brute justice and then have your cannons. If you can lose both your towers, get 2 brute justice, 2 oppressors, 2 cruise chasers, that's it.
A sacrifice strat?
Dude, you might as well. The towers are meaningless in the game anyway. They're basically just holding you back from accessing brute justice. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, you might as well just give them up. Power generator, we mentioned. You hold it in the middle. It gives you 1 energy per 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
To every party. So it's like 6 energy, or 6 ceruleum per 3 seconds, because it's 1 to each party. Now, earlier, big topic has been the effect of players have on the match. And you know what? They knew this was coming. Because Sly, they made it so that when you kill enemy players, and if you stay alive, you get a buff that increases your damage dealt, increases your healing dealt, and decreases your damage taken. That should be good, right?
If it mattered.
If it mattered, that's accurate. So whenever your team, specifically the people in your party, let me make sure I read this correctly. When you defeat an enemy team member, your party, yes. So whenever your specific party of 4 lands a kill, whether it be with a mech, with a steam cannon, doesn't matter. Your entire party gets soaring stacks, which is per stack 2% damage dealt, 2% healing dealt, and 1% less damage taken. Stacks up to 10, so at max you have 20% extra damage and healing and 10% less damage taken for your entire party of 4. Doesn't that sound like it would be good?
On paper.
On paper. You want to know what happens if someone dies?
You lose stacks.
You lose half of them. And considering that mech's deaths count for this, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit too much. Basically, when you're in the mech, you count as the mech. You are now the mech. That is your HP. And while it's usually more than what you usually have as just a general player character, going back to the mechs, do you think they should have separated to where once the mech actually gets destroyed, you go back to just being a player character and you're vulnerable? Or do you think this was the way it is now? It is okay.
You know, it's hard for me to say which one's right. I didn't enjoy when I died as the mech, just dying. It makes sense, yeah. You know, if you're in a car and it explodes, you don't just get out of the car and be like, well, the car exploded, but I'm fine. You know? Right. But at the same time, in a fantasy game, the fact that I count as a death as opposed to the actual, again, player counting as the death, it just further cements that if they're making the mechs the player as opposed to just putting the player in the mech, that the mech is, you might as well just be a mech all fucking time. I'm just saying. I would have preferred to fall out of the mech, maybe even be at half HP when you come out of the mech. But
I could take that. I could live with that. But just dying altogether once you lose the mech and then losing stacks on top of that, just because you lost the mech and you died. Yeah, it seems a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah. And one of the most important things that people don't understand yet, and we've been talking about Cerulean, we've been talking about Soar, both of these things are party exclusive. Each individual party has stacks of Soar, and each individual party has their own Cerulean. Which is why it's funny. Have you gone to the cave mid with all the Cerulean tanks?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get frustrated when the other parties grab the Cerulean tank, you get no Cerulean, and you miss like 6 in a row? And despite the fact that you've been in the cave for like a minute,
yes,
you don't have any Cerulean to show for it because the other people have either spawned closer to them.
You're kind of working against your own alliance, and
it's like, hey,
not your alliance, but
fuckers,
your team.
I need Cerulean too. Let me get one, you fucks.
And you type in alliance chat, please let me get Cerulean, and they're still just stealing it from you.
It's like, God, please, once your team has 50, just stop picking them up until, I don't know, just look through, you can see everyone's Cerulean in the alliance list. Just look at who doesn't have any Cerulean and be like, you know what, maybe I should let them have some.
Right.
It kills me, man. And then, as soon as it's your turn to get the Cerulean, the enemy team sends like 12 people through the caves, and you're just like, all right, well.
Yep.
Fuck me, alright? I do like the little UI elements they added for this, though. I do think they're really nice.
Yeah. In regards to soaring, do you think there should have been a general team buff instead of just like separate alliance buff?
Why couldn't we just have the old one where you as a player are responsible for your own stuff? Like if they wanted to keep this
adrenaline rush.
Yeah, but like no, well, Adrenaline Rush was the name. Not
Adrenaline Rush. What was it called in Shatter? Battle High.
Battle High. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with the idea of Soar, but I'd like to be responsible for my own stacks, and I get it. It's trying to be party based, trying to be team based. No one cares. This isn't an organized competitive mode. This is a free-for-all where you hope people listen. This is a free-for-all where nobody fucking listens. That's all it is. And you end up just being some dude in an oppressor trying to walk through the middle of the map to maybe get one shot off at a tower because your team isn't doing anything anyway.
Uh-huh.
It's just, I don't like Soar in its implementation, but I do think there should be something for slaying the other team. I just think Soar is so inconsequential that, you know what would be, I'd be cool with? Maybe if you got stacks of Soar, if like, how do I describe this? I'd be cool with stacks of Soar if like the party standing near Mammoths gave the Mammoths the stacks as well, so they could get through the lane faster, or maybe you could give them next.
I wouldn't like.
I'd feel like I'm making a much bigger impact for if my party is keeping our Soar stacks and we're escorting minions through a lane and they're stronger because of it. I'd feel better as a player, like contributing. I'm still not the one actually doing anything, but I had to earn those Soar stacks first, at least. I'm just trying to make the player matter.
In regards to the Mammoths, maybe not having the Soar applied to the Mammoths. One, being able to upgrade your Mammoths. That should be it. I mean, they're strong.
Mammoths should just get stronger as the match goes to try and escalate the rate at which the game is finished.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether or not you want to make them stronger over time or you want to make it so whenever you build a mech, they get stronger. I don't know. Something. To get the match.
Kill something to make the Mammoth stronger, and you permanently have stronger Mammoths.
I'd even I don't know. Maybe once two towers are gone, team with the power generator, the Mammoths are stronger. I don't know. There's so many elements here that I want just not player versus player. They're like, what the fuck are these other things doing?
Mm-hmm.
That I'm just like, honestly, just fuck it.
There's so there's so much in this mode that takes it kind of out of the player's hands, so to speak.
Oh, almost everything's in the player's hands. It's just you're not actually playing. Hey, I'm gonna PvP as Monk today. No, you're gonna PvP as Cruise Chaser. Don't fucking lie to me right now, okay? You're gonna hit a few people. You're gonna get in a mech, and you're gonna have as much contribution in that mech as possible. Because you're never gonna put a healer in a mech. There's no point in putting a tank in a mech. Well, other than the fact that your DPS should feasibly be better at dealing with the other mechs in terms of actual kill speed. It's
going back to what you were saying at the beginning with a smaller scale. Maybe this kind of map with a smaller scale make attacks deal more damage, make the weight of the actual player matter, and maybe take away mechs. Not take away mechs. One, make them autonomous. Have less mechs. Make the mechs matter by having less of them, and like one team or both teams have like maybe one mech to push, one mech to actually do damage. Two players, something like that, something more like small and tight knit. I could see. I definitely agree with you there in regards to a smaller mode rather than a larger mode where stuff really doesn't matter.
So the thing is, they tried to emulate a MOBA. MOBAs are notorious for the player skill determining the outcome of the match. That's not untrue here. It's just that it's not really your individual skill as a player that matters at all. The reason why Square Enix likes to go with these like large-scale 24v24 maps is because it allows players who are like nervous about their performance to step in and maybe not stand out as much so that they can kind of get their bearings. What it creates is equally on the other side, though, a situation where that player's input just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's impossible to say it doesn't matter. It's a bit of hyperbole. But that's why it is. They want your impact, whether you live or die, to not be the impact that decides the game. They just want it to be a factor that has to be considered. And I get it. It's for new people to get into PvP. The PvP is not hyper competitive. But
is this really a mode for newer players, though?
That's the thing. You've also introduced a mode that has so many things going on that are not like what a player is expecting to do when they play your game, that those newer players get scared off just because of the mode. In my opinion, like a smaller map that does this exact same thing with some other changes would have been far superior than a 24v24 large scale map where everything's a clusterfuck.
And that's where I agree with.
Yeah. And after all that, you know what? I still had fun with it today. I can't deny I had fun playing this. But every match, I'm like, why does this work this way? This doesn't make any sense. Every time I get in a steam cannon, why am I like this god in this cannon? Like, why are my towers completely worthless? You know, why are the mammoths so weak and barely significant? They're significant, but they're not really worth pushing up into a lane.
Right.
So many questions like, why is this way? And I can't think of many good answers. Other than, hey, we wanted to make something crazy and different and fun. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. It just makes me want to play Smite.
You know, that's like how I felt with Lords of Arminion. I just wanted to play StarCraft instead.
Yeah.
And I still take it over Shatter any fucking day. Shatter for me is like the epitome. I want Seas to be popular again. Seas is the best PvP mode they've done to date.
Yeah.
Literally, player skill mattered for everything in Seas. And being able... I mean, the randomness of the tower spawn sometimes fucked you, but being able to adapt to that was key, and that was nice. It didn't make... Every game didn't feel exactly the same. Yeah. That's good.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, it was not good, but it wasn't too bad. I actually like Shatter.
Dude, I want Seal Rock to be king again. That is and will at this point, at the rate they're releasing PvP modes, will always be my favorite PvP mode. And I just want it to be popular again, but nobody wants to do it. People want the ADS mount from Shatter. They want the Avenger mount from this. I want my Seas days back, man. I could do 15 hours of Seas. I can't do 15 hours of this, man. I can't spend 10 minutes a game sitting on a fucking turret. Like, I just can't do it. Or, I'm sorry, a steam cannon.
Yeah.
I expect fairly large-scale changes to this. Maybe in the next 2 weeks, even. I don't think it takes them long to start making changes to this mode.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. So that covers that, at least. We had a pretty good discussion about that, Sly.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you can tell, I've had some frustrations with it.
Same. It's just... It just goes... It's a MOBA mode, but it just goes against the grain on so much in terms of what we're used to in a mode like this.
Yeah. And I will say this. I had a game today that ended in about 8 minutes. Man. We won. It was... There's one last point I want to hit on that isn't really able to be shown very well outside of that like general overview.
Mm-hmm.
Attacking the core from the south side is pointless. It's, in the most literal term, an uphill battle. Or in this case, an upstair battle. You have to walk up not narrow, but a fairly narrow set of stairs to get to the core. From the top, you can hide behind a fence that, like, players just don't notice you from. And just barrage it.
And that's another thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. The scale in terms of verticality on the map. Whereas we're used to maps being on one plane. Like everything is on one plane. There's no bottom layer of mid or anything like that. Everything's on one plane.
It's not entirely true. Seas has there's usually a high point, low point.
No. In regards to just MOBAs in general.
Oh, okay. I got what you're saying.
Everything's on one plane. There's no above or there's no below. There's just
objects in the way. Most of the time, like a wall or a tree or something, a forest in a tree.
Do you think they? Damn it. Do you think they could have kept it simple by just leaving everything on one plane, actually putting Cerulean on in the map, but not having to go under mid or anything? Just put it around the map, make it scattered, make it an area for it to respawn and whatnot, instead of just having a high, a low, going upstairs. Things like that. Do you think it could have been simpler?
I could have been. When I think of high ground, low ground, I think of Dota. If you've ever seen the international, high ground, low ground is pretty important. There are certain strategies that revolve around high ground, low ground. Most other modern MOBAs have kind of done away with high ground, low ground. Dota 2 is the one that stands out above the rest that still does high ground, low ground. High ground, low ground is a fine concept. The problem is when you have ultimately when you get to the enemy base in Dota, everything at that point is on a level ground. There's no high ground, low ground when you're in a base. In this, the base's entrances, one is a low ground and one is a high ground. And going in via the low ground is literally reenacting the episode 3 of Star Wars. Literally, you're at the top of the cannons. I have the high ground! And they still try to run up, and then you chop off an arm and 2 legs. And then they just yell, I hate you! I hate you!
Yeah, it just feels like... It feels terrible to give one route an advantage over the other. Like, making one route easier or making the other one difficult. Obviously, people are going to take the easier route, so why would you even bother going to the low ground to high ground? I think it would have been simpler if they just kept everything on one plane.
It would have, because what ends up happening is the only way to win the game feasibly is to win control of the top lane. Which then makes the bottom tower be like, well, I just have to kill that shit so I can get it back. And it's hilarious when you're in Oppressor and you kill the top tower, you rotate bot to kill the bottom tower, and then you're trying with the same Oppressor to rotate back top. That's literally 12 minutes to, like, move around the map that much with the Oppressor. It's just... That's honestly... The low ground for bot lane kills me. And I really... And it's not even just that. The point where you can start hitting the core from the high ground on the northern side of the map is also further. When you're trying to shoot the Oppressor missile from the low ground, you need to be on a level field with it before you can fire the missile. Which means you can't even fire the missile from, like, partway down the stairs. You need to make it all the way to the top. When you approach from the high ground, there's literally, like, a huge area where you can stand on and attack from there. It's just, and you're above it, so it's there, it's done. You don't have to think about it. You can just aim directly for the thing. There's a lot of things, man, and that's not something they can fix easy. They can't just say, well, we're gonna level the map. That's like a big project to just literally.
Yeah, that's another full patch before we get something like that.
Yeah, think about the last time they did that was with Twintanya's arena with Bahamut's hand, where it had a hill.
Yeah,
and they flattened it. And that was just a small boss arena. We're talking about an entire map here. It's not easy. And it's
not easy.
Big imbalance. Ultimately it comes down to community just yells at people to go through the north side. And it means at the end of the game, everyone's fighting north. The bottom lane is good for trying to backdoor, but if someone with a cannon is half a brain, you ain't making it. I've got some good cannon videos coming soon. Some good cannon videos.
All in all, it's an okay mode. Like, again, we didn't alarm clock this.
I alarm clock C's, I think. That was the last PvP mode I alarm clocked.
Yeah, I think I alarm clocked Feast.
You know what? I might have alarm clocked Feast as well.
Yeah.
Feast was a good day.
Feast got me a little hype. Not so much.
No. Definitely not that hype for it. After 3.5 hours, I went and did Rabinaster, almost got killed by Hash Brown, and then went and played World of Final Fantasy. That was my day after that. I was like, okay, I did this for 3.5 hours. I'm not going to farm this 100 times. And you have to win 100 times to get the new mount. That new mount there's gonna be
somebody who farms it. I
literally know at least 24 people who are going to no life this until they have it. Minimum.
Wouldn't surprise me if I already got it.
No, I don't think that's even remotely possible that people have 100 wins by now, Sly. You'd have to be winning those matches in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you actually had to be good in air.
Yeah, at least it's not Shatter. That's key.
Saying that Shatter wasn't bad.
Shatter was pretty bad. Shatter was pretty bad. When I have played over a dozen full games of Shatter without interacting with another player, it's bad. And won.
There are times I still do front lines and hope I get Shatter. I actually prefer Shatter over this. Just saying.
Sly, I'm just gonna let you know that in life we have a lot of moments where we have to accept that we're wrong. This is your moment.
No, I'm not accepting that. Fuck that.
You love PVI? Are you really into PVI?
PVI?
Player versus ice?
Yes, I like player versus ice.
Yeah. You like it when they don't fight back.
Yeah.
There you go.
Terrible. Terrible.
What you can? That can apply. That can apply to combat.
That just sounded so terrible. God, Happy man, that was so dark.
Right.
Okay.
So dark. You're just You're fighting people, Sly.
You like it when they don't fight back? Really?
It's a Sly.
Okay.
I'm talking about combat. Combat.
Okay. All right, Happy. All right.
It's Shatter's
Jesus.
worse. All I'm saying. Shatter's is worse. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so the other thing that happened this patch that you and I have no aptitude for, because we are not talented individuals, is perform. Holy shit. Is this the greatest feature? Were you ever in band? I was in chorus and I was supposed to do ensemble, but I said I would instead of staying after to sing, I wanted to go home and play video games, so I never. So
you never played an instrument?
No, I never played. I played the fucking stupid ass recorder they made us play in elementary school.
Yeah, everybody has played a recorder, but like not like an actual
dumbest shit
instrument or anything. I actually played in band like from middle school to sophomore year of high school, and then just gave it up to do other stuff. But even still, I'm not musically inclined to do anything with perform. And I've already seen videos on Twitter, on YouTube of people like, first of all, let's get the disclaimer out before we go into any detail about this. In the patch notes, if you could go back to the patch notes.
Yeah, I can go back to the patch notes here.
Yeah.
Let me find it. Here it is.
Yeah, they're right at the very top. So, with regards to perform, in huge, well, not huge, but red letters, when using the performance actions, you are strictly prohibited from performing the music of any third parties. You may record and upload your performance and hereby agree to license such recordings to us for use by Square Enix or others in accordance with terms of the Final Fantasy XIV material usage license. So basically, yeah, you can't do your bard rendition of pick any song from any artists.
Dude, do you think they would be able to tell if I did Sandstorm? I'm just hitting the same button 4 times in a row. Would they? Do you think they'd be able to pinpoint that and be like, wait, that's a cover of Sandstorm? No, I'm just pressing the same button over and over again. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Let me just say that the people who are... I don't know how people are already this good at this function. If you are out there and you have created a masterpiece, you have my utmost respect. Because you guys aren't just good. You guys are gods at...
Really good.
At this. I'm trying to find an example of it.
I can give you one. There's one on Twitter. Hold on, let me go.
I've got a few here. Oh, here's Ishgard. Here's... What's this one? Yeah. That's my favorite one. Okay. I'm gonna... Oh, no, there's also... No, actually, this one. No, yeah, that one's my favorite one. Somebody did... hold on. I'm pulling this one up. This is incredible. And they've recorded video. Oh, my God, I love these videos. These videos are so good. Hold on.
It might be the same one, but yeah, this is the one I found.
Hold on. I'm using the one where it's the same person 3 times. And
I think that's the one.
Yeah, okay. I'm pulling this up on the screen. This is fucking incredible. Hold on. I gotta make it full screen correctly. So let's do this. And then I'll get a link to it in the chat right here. All right. So, hold on. This one's the BGM for... Okay, I don't know because Google Translate.
That's the one.
That's the one. Okay, let me give a link to the chat. All right, I'm just gonna shut the fuck up and listen to this. This is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the video's lagging. Womp womp. Twitter, no. That's fucking incredible. In every way imaginable, I'm fucking mind blown.
For them to do 3 separate tracks and have the hearing to know which track to do and to know how to do that particular track, and then put them all together that quickly in one day. You guys are geniuses.
Yeah, I saw Akmorn tweeting these, and that's where I'm getting this from. I think it's actually clipped as a moment on her feed. And there's just, hold on. I think this one's also really good. Here, let me do this one. I actually have to go to the tweet though, because otherwise it's kind of weird. Yeah, because otherwise I need to like hover over it. So let's actually go to this tweet right here. Let's see. This one's really good. God damn, the video keeps lagging at the start. And then after that, it's because it's going full screen. And it's trying to fix the quality. Damn it! Oh no, that's the end of it. Never mind. That was the actual end. Yeah, I can get people the link to this one. It's just, oh man.
The way they had their key set up, it actually looks like looks like either a keyboard.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have a MIDI keyboard plugged in, and they did the key binds by setting all the actual keys. That doesn't make it any less awesome. I mean, if you're musically talented, you're musically fucking talented. Like, you can't take anything away if somebody plugged in a MIDI keyboard. Though I would absolutely be incredibly impressed if someone did that on it. Like, I mean, actually, no, it wouldn't work on a normal keyboard setup. I don't think, because there's not enough keys horizontally on a normal keyboard. So, but oh man, it's just, I look at that and I'm like, I am an untalented individual.
We're gonna start seeing more like bands forming within 14, like to actually do performances and not just one person doing each individual track, but just like 3 or 4 separate people doing their own track, like bass and everything. But yeah, like it's a good day for creatives in 14.
I minus the people who wanted to play anything that's not Final Fantasy 14. So that's my other question. How long before they remove this?
I get a patch and a half.
So I think they're covering their legal asses. I don't think they do a goddamn thing about anybody who plays a rendition. We may actually. It's debatable. Like, to devote manpower to like actively pursue people who are posting like music from other games, as long as you say something like, I don't own any of this, I don't own Final Fantasy, I don't own the music.
You're covering yourself.
People cover fucking music on YouTube all the time, and they don't get attacked. It's their own rendition of it in their own way.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. I can't imagine they'll actually go after people. Fingers crossed that it opens up a creative bunch, but I think they're just covering their asses. If a company comes after them, they can clearly say, no, it's that dude, or hey, we gotta get rid of this. But I just don't see that happening. People do it all the time with other shit. So fingers crossed, Perform doesn't get removed, because I want to see more stuff like that.
Yes. And even before, when we first found out about this, I thought this speaks to a Stage Reborn being able to have do their own music for their own performances. So hopefully a Stage Reborn, you're listening, hopefully you are recruiting a in-troupe orchestra or performer, please.
It's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be sweet. I can't wait for that. Okay, so what else? They added new achievements for the new mode. There's also challenge logs for stuff. You can do the new mode for Garo, also. Worth mentioning if you still haven't done the Garo event, in quotes. But there's one last thing we need to talk about, Sly. We need a moment of silence for this next one. Squadrons. They fixed the engage spam. An issue wherein issuing the engage order would reset squadron members' cooldown times.
Everybody in chat, a moment of silence.
They died.
And I'm good.
They died too young. The feature died too young.
People are still going to do squadrons after this.
I'd like to point out that a squadron still having like a 60% damage buff makes them pretty fucking fast compared to the Duty Finder.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you can't engage spam, they are still probably better than trying to do Stone Vigil with real players. In fact, even if all 4 players are really good at the Stone Vigil, they're probably still better just by sheer fact that they have a 60% damage buff. The only thing is, you're just not gonna literally finish Stone Vigil in 7 minutes anymore. You probably finish it in like a close to normal time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe have to dodge an ability or do a mechanic maybe here and there. Like maybe I actually.
The way you say that. Yep, you actually have to do what the game intends for you to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
It's terrible.
Terrible. Actually,
it's still gonna be better than Duty Finder. Yeah, it's just it's still faster than doing it with the Duty Finder. That's the incredible thing. They fixed the bug, and it's still faster. So
you actually have to try with incompetent NPCs.
I mean, before I knew about engage spam, that's what I was doing. And then someone told me about engage spam. Just don't use an Arcanist. The Arcanist is the worst. The Arcanist will literally try to Bane off 1 dot and then cast the other 3 dots afterwards. And yes, I said other 3 because the Arcanist has Bio, Bio 2, Miasma, and Miasma 2. The Arcanist has all 4. And Shadow Flare. So, have a good time with that. Other than that, I don't think there's too much to go on. Last week we mentioned maybe going over some interviews and stuff like that, but a lot of that information's been kind of beat to death. So I think we can leave this at the discussion where we had it end. About a 90-minute show.
Yeah, pretty much. Short patch, like just basically perform in Rival Wings.
Engage. Don't underplay it, Sly. It was important. My squadron's not yet 60. They're doomed.
So, that's the show.
That's the show.
Yeah, like I said, honestly, with this patch, I think performance is the highlight of the patch in itself.
I completely agree.
Yeah, whereas the main feature is Rival Wings. It's just performed kind of outshined it.
There was one more thing, Sly.
What was there?
Gilgamesh is back. We're not congested anymore. You can make characters on Gilgamesh again. You can transfer to Gilgamesh again. We're back, boys.
Yay.
Dude, I'm fucking excited. It's been a goddamn ghost town on Gilgamesh.
And that's true. Yeah, I've lost it quite a bit.
Yeah, not as much as a server that literally hasn't seen a new player in fucking 5 months. But we are open for business. I think it's fine. Gilgamesh isn't the premier place to be for raiding anymore. It's, you know, that's everyone's party finder shit.
Yeah.
It's not like it was back before where it was literally only people who raided were on Gilgamesh. You had no other choice. That's just, it's not that way anymore.
Still a misconception.
What do you mean still a misconception?
Yeah, it still was a misconception that, you know, you wanted the raid, you go to Gilgamesh. Like, I hated that when people say that. People said that.
You could totally raid on other servers. Other people raided on other servers. But if you wanted to go to a place without any plan and maybe find a group, that was what people did for Gilgamesh. I think that was the wrong way of doing it. I think it was worth going if you had a plan. But it's just not that way anymore. That's just not how because of the lock, Gilgamesh isn't seen in that light anymore. So it's uncongested. You can make characters. Just don't get us locked again in like a month, please. Like, please come back in moderation. If you
won't happen.
If you went to Omega or Louis Soix and you want to come back now, I totally understand that. Otherwise, just chill. All right.
Yeah, you're not gonna get congested that like because of cross party finder and everything. It's like you can stay on the server you're at as long as you're on the same data set. You're fine. Your Gilgamesh is fine. You're
just can't be in the actual guild, free company.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. There you go. Okay, so with that, we'll do sponsor, and then we'll say goodbye. Does that sound good, Sly? Yes. Do it before that. That way I'm showing I remembered it. You didn't have to remind me this week, Sly. Are you though?
I'm proud of you.
Like, are you actually proud, or are you just saying that you're proud?
I am proud of you,
guys. I finally earned Sly's trust. Despite the title of this show, I've earned his respect. I think. Maybe a little bit.
Not my oppression.
Yeah. Aha! I got him to say it. I got him to. I didn't make him do anything when he did it.
No, he didn't.
Okay. So before we sign off, want to do one last thing. I want to thank our sponsors over on Patreon to combat #demonetized. I mean, I quoted Star Wars 3 earlier, so we're absolutely not making any money on this video ever. No, that's not true. They'll let it pass. That's hyperbole, guys, but it's a joke. So we've had people who have been sponsoring us over on Patreon to help combat that. We have a few new people this week. Let's see. For our standard sponsors, we have Mantaru, Marsh Techie, Sour Cream, and Chives, who, by the way, I always forget to say what server Sour Cream and Chives is from. He pointed that out to me last week. And it's because it doesn't say it on the special thanks page, but I have it on the list. So you know what, Sly? I'm gonna read the whole thing. I'm gonna read Sour Cream and Chives from Jenova. He's from Jenova. Hey. There you go. Hey. Velestra of Famfrit, Rynoet Chikara, Ellisan Le'ore from Balmung. Sorry, you're still congested. Kurioshi and the Reckless Teaparty Free Company. Goetia Valefar of Siren, Jean-Francois, Hersh, Fersh, Serren from Zodiark, and Phoenix Down Free Company on Goblin. Those are our standard sponsors. By the way, Teaparty Free Company on Cactuar. It was too long to fit, so it just says Reckless Teaparty. Then we have our elite sponsors. We have Ignis Fairgun, who jumped up from standard to elite. Thanks. Ignis Fairgun from Diabolos, Ira, and Avon Blanc for company on Zodiark. Krovos Moonscar, Nako Neame of Balmung, Johnnywa Odin of Tonberry, Spike, Rudy Rudiger, Obai Del Shamsi, Aqua Sacrifice, Nadia and Kurasame, Khuja Cross of Jenova, Ahmed, Kurenai Oni, Abdullah, Killer Hackman, Raul Jr., Kiltastic Jones, Arthur Emil Gaming Bishop, Darklight 2013, and Tim Colossus. Thank you, those of you who have been sponsoring.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys are awesome. So Sly, why don't you tell them what you got going on over there? You might want to wait a minute because it's for some reason your face is nope. There we go. Actually, it looks beautiful.
My face is what?
So it was only showing up to the top half of here. I'll show them what it looked like. when I swapped over. It's because I had it set to when we had 3 people on the show. So this for anyone who's wondering, this is what it this is what it looked like when I. That's scary, Sly. That's real scary. Okay, it's back to normal, Sly. Where can they find you at, man?
You can find me on twitch.tv/Sly, aka Greyfox. You can find me on Instagram at Sly, aka Greyfox07. You can find me on Twitter at Slythefox. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/thevelvetroom. And you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Slyakagreyfox. Said that already. This week, it's Thanksgiving.
Oh, fuck,
so obviously, how do you forget that?
I don't. We get a ham, all right, and then we just eat a ham.
You don't do the conventional turkey. You don't.
We don't stick bread in a turkey and cook it for 8 hours. We just get a ham. It's a honey baked ham.
That's good. You can do a turkey.
It's like a 4-pound ham.
Right. But I'm off Turkey Day because I want to enjoy my food coma. So hopefully, everybody, you enjoy your Turkey Day, no matter what you're doing or how you're celebrating. Enjoy your Turkey Day. Enjoy your Black Friday. Be safe on Black Friday. Don't kill anyone, and please don't be killed by it. Be careful. It's ruthless.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like, I don't want you dying at Walmart or Best Buy or Target or wherever you're going. Yeah, just be safe, please. Happy, where can they find you in your non-traditional Thanksgiving?
I'll be streaming on Thanksgiving, so it's whatever.
Hooray.
Yay! Days off. Doesn't exist for me.
Well, yeah, they don't exist for you.
I mean, it's a holiday, great. Come hang out while you eat food. Instead of sitting around the table, get one of those like pull-out dinner trays and just slap some turkey and some mashed potatoes on that bitch, and let's have a good time. You can find me, Mr. Happy1227, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I right now am playing World of Final Fantasy on PC. We just finished through all of our stories in Final Fantasy XI. We finished every major expansion story, and that was an experience, to say the least. There's a lot of big things happening in the next few weeks. I'm going to Canada in December, December 3rd for KupoCon, which is a small Final Fantasy themed convention that just started up a little bit about a year ago this time when I went there in Newark. I've got a panel I'm going to be doing there with Resef from Reddit and Azavar, if some of you know him. He's another content creator. And on top of that, we've got things like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 coming out, episode Ignis, the Monster Hunter beta is next month. Woo! I know, right? Yeah. Dauntless just revealed their new weapon.
Yeah, oh my god. And I want to get on Dauntless tonight.
That December update, dude, that literal, it's a lance it's like the gun lance if it shot lasers.
God.
It's real good.
I'm so hyped.
I know. It's going to be a good time. So we got some good stuff coming on the way, so be on the lookout for that. I'm still doing guides on 15 Comrades, which was surprisingly good, by the way. It's just load times are killer, but other than that, it's been real good. I think at some point Pocket Edition for 15 is due out before the end of December, so yeah.
15 Chibi Edition.
I mean, I'm playing Final Fantasy Chibi Edition right now, so it is what it is. All right, we're going to move on over into the post show, though, at that point. Thank you again to our sponsors. Remember, call your local representatives for net neutrality, because if not, we may not have a show this time next year. Who the fuck knows? But I will see you guys tomorrow. Sly, you'll be streaming after this, right?
Yes, I will.
What are you streaming tonight?
We're actually doing Raid.
Doing Raid?
Yeah. And
then tomorrow's Warframe?
Tomorrow is Warframe Wednesday.
Warframe Wednesday. See, I know the schedule.
Ah, yeah. Shin Megami Tensei Saturdays.
I hosted you on Shin Megami Saturdays.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I've never played Nocturne, so I'm gonna check this out real quick.
Good old Dante.
We'll probably talk about that a little bit in the post show, but thank you everyone for joining us this week. We will see you next week, and until then, take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving. See, I forgot again already.
See,
we murdered Indians. All right, I'm not celebrating that.
See you next week, everyone.
And they weren't even Indians. They're Native Americans. We just called them that.